The crowd roared like 1,000 engines igniting at once. High above the glittering dome of the Andari Combat Coliseum, ships circled in orbit, broadcasting the duel to hundreds of star systems. This was no ordinary match. It was the annual Exarch's trial, the most brutal, most watched, and most unforgiving one-on-one combat event in the galaxy. And this time, there was a twist. A human had entered. It was unthinkable. Humans were strong, sure, but primitive, unrefined. The Andari Empire prided itself on martial precision, technological superiority, and genetically engineered warriors. This year's reigning champion? Commander Valshan, a veteran of 9 campaigns, her armor forged from star iron, her blade a living plasma serpent that had devoured countless foes. She stood in the center of the arena, tall and gleaming, her armor rippling with kinetic shielding and reactive plating. Her 4 eyes blinked in sync, scanning the doors across the ring. The announcer's voice echoed through the Coliseum. Challenger, human designation, Dane Ryder, former colonial marine, unranked. A pause, confused murmurs. Then the doors opened. He walked in with the casual boredom of someone shopping for groceries. No armor, just a sleek black bodysuit. No energy shielding, no HUD visor, no support drone, and no weapon. Well, not by Andari standards. In his right hand was something absurd, a smooth, dark rod barely the length of his forearm. No blade, no edge, no pulse. It didn't even hum. The crowd burst into laughter. Even Valshan tilted her head in amusement. Asterisk, asterisk, you bring a stick into the arena? Asterisk, asterisk, she said, her voice booming through her external speaker. Asterisk, asterisk, do you plan to poke me to death, human? Asterisk, asterisk. Dane smiled without speaking. He tapped the rod lightly against his leg, like a conductor preparing a symphony. The match countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, asterisk, asterisk. A blaring horn signaled the start. Valshan charged. Her movement was a blur, enhanced by exomuscles and centuries of refined battle instinct. Her plasma blade ignited like a serpent of pure sunfire, swinging low and fast toward the human's midsection. And then it happened. One move. Dane's hand blurred. Thwack. The rod, now suddenly humming with focused vibration, met her blade in mid-swing. But instead of deflecting, it shattered the energy construct. A pulse of kinetic shock traveled through the field and into her hilt. The weapon's core destabilized and exploded in a burst of sparks. She recoiled, stunned. Before she could recover, Dane was already inside her guard. Crack. The rod connected with her shoulder plate. A focused burst of vibration at the exact frequency of star iron. The armor split down the seam like a peeled fruit. Sparks sprayed. Hydraulic fluid hissed. She stumbled back, eyes wide. What is that thing? She growled. Dane spun the rod lazily, then tapped it against his palm. Just a stick, he said, finally speaking. But I know how to use it. She roared and leapt at him again, claws out. Rage overriding strategy. But the duel was already over. He sidestepped, pivoted. Whump. A sharp strike to the side of her knee, a nerve cluster. Crack. A blow to the back of her neck guard, just below the helmet seal. And then silence. Valshan fell to her knees. Her armor hissed, systems failing. Her pride shattered. The crowd was dead silent. Dane walked up to her, eyes calm. I didn't come here to win. I came to show you all something. He held up the rod, still humming with hidden power. It's not the size of the weapon, not the glow, not the fear it spreads before the fight. It's how well you know where to hit, how well you know your enemy. He turned and walked away without waiting for the official declaration. The announcer's voice finally returned. Asterisk, asterisk, winner. Dane Ryder, human. Asterisk, asterisk. The silence broke into stunned chaos. Some cheered, others screamed, and up in the private suites, military officials and empire strategists watched the replay again and again. Not because of the weapon, but because of the precision. Because it meant one terrifying truth. Humans had figured them out. Pain. It wasn't something Commander Valshan was accustomed to. Her armor had absorbed orbital strikes. Her flesh had been engineered for resilience beyond any natural species. But the ache she felt now wasn't just physical. It was deeper. A kind of humiliation that wrapped around her like a chain. She sat alone in the medical chamber, stripped of her ruined armor. Her shoulder was fractured. Her neural link partially scrambled. Her pride? Obliterated. The room hummed with quiet tension. Outside the reinforced walls, news of her defeat was spreading like wildfire across the Andari Dominion. Hollow feeds replayed the fight in slow motion, freeze-framing the moment her blade shattered. Then again when her armor split. And again when she fell. One phrase kept repeating in headlines. One strike. One human. The champion falls. The medbay door slid open with a hiss. A figure stepped in, lean, pale, dressed in an officer's cloak of obsidian silk. Eyes sharp as blades. Lord Varric, High Commander of the Andari War Council. Velshan straightened, gritting her teeth through the pain. My lord, she said, bowing her head. Varric's voice was calm, but cold. Do you understand what you've done? She didn't answer immediately. I lost, she said finally. No, you did worse, Varric snapped. You exposed us. He stepped closer, pulling a hollow disc from his sleeve. A projection flared up, displaying slowed footage of Dane Rider's rod striking her armor. Frequency readings. Energy patterns. Analysis overlays. This weapon wasn't advanced, Varric said. It was intelligent, tuned precisely to the structural weaknesses of your suit. The way he moved, it was surgical, calculated. He knew more about our physiology than we knew about his. Velshan's fists clenched. He humiliated me. He studied you, Varric corrected. The same way we study lesser species. There was silence. Then, softly, she said, permission to challenge him again. Varric looked at her. No. Her eyes widened. What? You're compromised. Emotionally rattled. If we send you again and you lose, it won't just be embarrassing. It'll confirm what everyone's now whispering. And what's that? She growled. That humans may not be the primitives we took them for. Meanwhile, on the human side of the sector, Dane Rider stood in the debriefing chamber aboard the UHS Resolute. Across from him sat Director Kellen Mora, head of Human Coalition Special Intelligence. Nice stick work, Mora said, tossing a data tablet onto the table. Dane gave a half smile. Glad someone noticed. Oh, everyone noticed. You're trending on 37 alien networks. Even the Bruck are confused, and they don't even believe in entertainment. He leaned forward. That wasn't just about winning, was it? Dane shook his head. It was about sending a message. And that message is, we've been watching them, studying them. While they've been laughing at us, we've been learning how they break. Morris smiled. I take it you're ready for phase 2. Dane stood up. Send me in. Later, on a distant moon. Commander Velshan stood in front of her personal shuttle, alone. A message blinked on her private comms console, a direct feed from the arena archives. She played it again, frame by frame, strike by strike. The way Dane's body moved, it wasn't just strength. It was mastery. He hadn't beaten her because he was faster or stronger. He had outthought her. She stared at the image of the rod in his hand. It had no glory, no visual threat, no alien brilliance. Just precision, discipline, simplicity. Something primal inside her stirred. She didn't want revenge. She wanted to understand. Back in the Colosseum's private archives. In the shadows beneath the arena, an old alien scribe watched the duel footage again, over and over. A scholar of wars long past. He scratched a note into his journal. _ beware the humans. They do not flaunt their power. They refine it. _ The Andari capital of Zaros Prime was a monument to conquest. Towers pierced the sky like spears, and the palace of the War Council overlooked them all, cold, black, and unyielding. In a chamber deep beneath the throne room, Commander Velshan stood barefoot on polished stone, stripped of rank insignia, her fists wrapped in training cloth. Before her stood 6 elite Andari warriors, each chosen to simulate various combatants she'd once bested. And yet, tonight, she lost. Again, and again. Each spar ended with her on the floor, bruised and seething. She wasn't losing because they were better. She was losing because every move she tried had been part of the old ways. And they had failed her. She stood, blood dripping from her lip, and whispered, "Show me the footage again." Meanwhile, aboard the UHS Resolute, Dane Rider stood before a display screen that hovered with holographic schematics. Alien armor, neural relay diagrams, weapon reaction timings. He wasn't alone. Across from him stood Specialist Kyra Locke, ex-Black Ops, and one of the only other humans who'd survived a duel with an Andari. You really shook the hive, Kyra said, arms crossed. They've pulled their champions off the front lines. Word is they're building something new. I'm counting on it, Dane said. This isn't about duels anymore. It's about what comes after the second fight. Kyra raised a brow. You think they'll let her fight again? They won't have a choice, he said. Her pride demands it. A message pinged on the terminal. New footage. A private sparring session. Somehow leaked. Veilshan training again, faster. More focused. Less dependent on her tech. She's learning, Kyra muttered. Dane smiled faintly. Good. Hashtag on the outskirts of the sector. A covert Andari cruiser moved silently through uncharted space, following a heat trail, a rogue human freighter. They didn't fire. Not yet. They were here to observe. But the freighter suddenly stopped mid-flight. A moment later, 6 autonomous drones launched from it, each shaped like junk, unarmed. Until they weren't. The Andari cruiser never sent another signal. Hashtag in a hidden room beneath Zaras. Veilshan stood before a silent archive projector, watching slowed footage, not of her own loss, but of ancient human fights. Earth martial arts. Techniques lost in time. Judo. Krav Maga. Silat. Tai Chi. Their movements weren't about brute strength. They were about balance. Redirection. Timing. No species in the galaxy fought like this. No wonder we failed, she whispered. Behind her, the door hissed open. Lord Varric entered again, but this time, his expression was unreadable. They're moving, he said. Veilshan turned slowly. The humans. Yes. They're not coming in ships. They're infiltrating minds. Codes. Systems. They've made themselves small to pass through our cracks. He walked forward. And so must we. He handed her a datapad. Your rematch has been authorized. Off record. No cameras. No crowds. Not for the Empire. This is for understanding. She looked down at it. The coordinates were simple. A barren moon. He agreed, she asked. Varric nodded. He requested it. Hashtag 2 weeks later, on a cold, wind-blown moon. The wind howled across the cracked surface, pulling dust into low spirals. There was no one to watch. No lights. No audience. Just 2 figures. Dane stood in his same black bodysuit, his rod strapped to his back. Veilshan approached without her armor. No shielding. No weapons. Only loose wrappings and focused eyes. She bowed. Dane nodded. No need for words. The fight began in silence. What followed was not spectacle. It was choreography born of survival. She moved with grace and fury. Gone were the wide power swings of a soldier relying on tech. Now she fought like a storm, measured, direct, fluid. Dane responded with minimal motion, flowing like water, striking only when she overreached. The rod sang in the wind, but this time, she dodged its kiss. He struck low. She turned his momentum. She swept his leg. He flipped and landed light. For the first time since they'd met, they were equal. Then she hesitated. He saw it. And he struck. Thok. The rod tapped her chest lightly, center of mass. She froze. And smiled. A breathless, prideful smile. You still win, she said. No, Dane said, stepping back. This wasn't about winning. She tilted her head. He held out a small chip, a data fragment. What is it, she asked. Proof that your empire's war plans have already been compromised. We're not just fighting with rods and fists anymore. We're already inside. She took it slowly. Why give this to me? Because the galaxy doesn't need another war, Dane said. It needs a warrior who can understand why this, he tapped his weapon, worked better than all your machines. She looked down at the chip, then up at him. And for the first time in her life, Commander Veilshan saluted a human. 3 days had passed since the duel on the barren moon. Commander Veilshan stood aboard her private transport, holding the data chip Dane Ryder had given her. It shouldn't exist. The encryption was old, yet human. But it included detailed layouts of Andari naval schematics, fleet movement algorithms, and worse, deep psychometric profiles of their high command. This wasn't a threat. It was a reminder. Humanity had already pierced their walls. She sat in silence, staring into the void of space. Then the console blinked. Incoming transmission, encryption layered. Her eyes narrowed. She tapped the console. Varric's face appeared, dimly lit. You met with the human. I did. You fought. Yes. Who won? She hesitated. Then, We both did. Varric exhaled. Then I pray the council never finds out. Veilshan raised a brow. They don't know. I never told them. This was between us, and now it's more. His voice lowered. The humans aren't the threat. Not yet. But they are building towards something. Quietly. Carefully. I believe they've found something beyond war. And I want to understand it. She blinked. You mean to align with them? Not yet, Varric said. But I want someone we can trust on the inside. She understood immediately. You want me to go to them? No. I want you to make them invite you. Meanwhile, aboard the UHS Resolute. Dane Ryder stared out from the observation deck, sipping bitter black coffee. She's thinking about it, Kyra said beside him. Dane didn't look at her. She's too smart not to. She's also got 1,000-year empire's weight on her shoulders. That's why I gave her the chip, he said. Not to start a war, but to show her we don't have to play by their rules anymore. Kyra looked amused. You planning to turn her? She's already turning herself. In the depths of Zaros Prime. Counselor Tyrax slammed his fist onto the crystalline table. This is blasphemy. She lost to a human. Twice. Now she walks freely. No discipline, no inquiry. Varric stood calmly, hands behind his back. Would you rather she be silenced? Or studied? She should be used, spat another counselor. Let her draw him out. Kill him. End it. Varric's eyes were sharp. And then what? Start a war with a species that's already inside our walls. A war where we don't even know the battlefield. The chamber fell silent. Perhaps, Varric continued, we should reconsider who the primitives truly are. Orbit of the human shared world, Kespera. An anonymous message reached a human outpost. Encrypted. Ancient formatting. Just a few words. Ready to talk. I bring no weapon. V****. Dane received it. He didn't hesitate. A quiet encounter. Beneath the shade of alien trees on neutral soil, Dane waited in silence. Veilshan stepped from her shuttle alone. No armor. No guards. She carried no blade. Only a simple satchel. She handed it to him. He opened it. Inside was an Andari neural core, the kind used to command fleet AI systems. Priceless. Why, he asked. Because your strike didn't just break my armor, she said. It broke the illusion. He studied her carefully. We've studied your kind for a long time, she continued. And we missed the most important truth. He tilted his head. And what's that? She stepped closer, her voice quiet but fierce. That humans don't fight for power or conquest. They fight for meaning. And that makes you dangerous in ways no metric can measure. A slow smile tugged at his lips. Welcome to the real war, he said. The human battleship Resolute hovered silently above Kespera's orbit, its hull coated in adaptive armor that shimmered against the void like a ghost. No lights. No transmissions. Inside, Dane Ryder paced along the operations deck while intelligence flowed across displays, fleet repositionings, updated Andari codes, and one critical data point. Veilshan had not returned home. She's either defecting or dead, Kyra Locke said, arms crossed. She's not dead, Dane replied. How do you know? He looked at her. Because I know what it feels like to break away from everything you believed in. She's not done yet. In a forgotten temple deep within Andari space. Veilshan knelt in an ancient meditation hall, untouched by the Empire's synthetic glow. It was older than the war, older than the throne. She lit a single torch and pressed the human neural chip into the altar beside it. The stone responded, not with light, but with music. Faint echoes, recordings of Earth, speeches, laughter, mourning, the voices of a species that had fought extinction, and one star. She listened, not as a warrior, not as an officer, but as someone searching for what she had never been given. Choice. 1 week later, in high orbit over Earth. Without warning, a small Andari scout vessel exited FTL just outside the defense perimeter of Sol. It didn't activate shields, didn't prime weapons. It simply broadcast one line on all channels. Requesting asylum. I come bearing warnings and peace. Fleet command scrambled, but Dane Ryder had been waiting for this. The War Council's fury. She's a traitor, Tyrak roared. No, Varric whispered. She's a signal, one we were too blind to send ourselves. He turned to his private terminal and activated an unlisted communication channel, one buried beneath the Empire's oldest systems. To Commander Veilshan. Message: you may burn the path if it leads to light. Outside, a secret location. Veilshan sat at the end of a long table, across from generals, politicians, and diplomats. She laid out data cores, battle plans, fleet weaknesses. But then, she placed one final object on the table, a scroll. Andari tradition. A symbol of exile. I no longer speak for them, she said. But I know how they think. A general leaned forward. What do you want in return? Veilshan met Dane's eyes, then turned back to the group. Help me create something better. Not for your side. Not for theirs. For what comes after. Silence. Then Dane stood. I believe her, he said. Because when I hit her with a glorified metal stick, she didn't strike back out of anger. He smirked. She learned. 6 months later, a new war begins. Not between humans and Andari, but between old orders and the rising coalition of those who'd had enough of power-hoarding empires. Whispers spread across the galaxy. A former Andari commander led Black Ops against rogue military cells. A human soldier trained alien cadets in hand-to-hand combat. And together, they moved through systems like shadows. Not as conquerors, but as a warning. You can mock the weapon. You can laugh at its simplicity, ***. But when it strikes with purpose, your pride will shatter long before your armor.